Today we are discussing Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or Aquaman 2, once more brought to us by director James Wan, starring Jason Momoa, and this marks the official end of the DC Extended Universe. Years after Aquaman dethroned his brother Orm, the two must team up to defend the world from an ancient power resurrected by Black Manta. The first Aquaman movie has some of the most stunning visuals I have ever seen. I just rewatched this movie the other night on my 4K TV with this 4K disc, and the final product was unreal. If you don't own Aquaman on 4K, I highly recommend you go purchase it right now. However, the same visuals that blew me away in the first film don't return in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. These special effects don't look refined, the colors aren't glowing, there's no wide shots to show off the scope of Atlantis and every underwater world. It's standard CGI, pretty much what you would expect from a typical superhero movie nowadays, but the visuals are what stood out to me in the first Aquaman movie, and losing them here is big. Before I dive deeper into my gripes with Aquaman 2, I'll point out a few things I liked, including the film's humor, its themes on sibling relationships, and the action. It's always interesting when you take the villain from the first movie and team him up with the franchise's lead hero in the sequel. We've seen it done before in movies like X2. It works here because Aquaman and Orm are brothers, so now that they're no longer fighting, they can work on their relationship as siblings. It's the best part of the movie, and their chemistry is dynamic. But what's most disappointing about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is how the sequel does not go above and beyond. Usually in trailers for sequels, you'll always see them say, this is a bigger and bolder movie than the original. Well, that's certainly not the case in Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. It's clear this movie was unfinished. It's a shame, too, they couldn't release this movie 2 or 3 years ago to bounce off the success of the first film being the highest grossing DC movie of all time. But James Gunn's announcement stating all remaining DCEU projects would become null and void is what killed this movie. Obviously, there were delays and reshoots. Those also affected the quality of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. There's multiple reasons why this film did not live up to expectations. As I said, the CGI is not refined, and you'd think the sequel would be around 2 hours and 30 minutes. But they abandoned ship, they no longer cared. Aquaman 1 came out 5 years ago, and since then, DC has been a scatterbrain, so I don't really blame them for not pumping any more money into the making of Aquaman 2 since shit hit the fan. It makes sense. Why would you spend more money on a movie that they did not expect to make any money? Their best hope now is to break even. As far as the story goes, it's nothing to write home about. The same goes for the first one, which means it's not really a flaw. I actually like the choices they made in Aquaman 2. Between having the brothers team up and making Black Manta the main villain, if only they made Black Manta more legit though. Over 2 movies, he does nothing. It's a shame. Black Manta is one of the coolest looking villains in comic book history, and yet he doesn't get a chance to do anything. He's not that intimidating. He doesn't kill many people. Black Manta is an underwhelming villain, but a villain that I think had a lot of potential. He's played by an exceptional actor, so they should have given him a chance to do stuff, but he's wasted here and looks weak. I also hate how this ancient godlike figure is the true villain of the movie. He looks like Fallen from Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I can't take him seriously. He's barely in the movie. I don't know why he's here. He's just this giant CGI monster. Black Manta should have been the one and only villain, for Christ's sake. So Aquaman 2, after a 5-year wait, is a disappointing final entry in the DCEU. It's not the worst of the worst, but if they put their full effort forward, it could have been another pretty good entry in the Aquaman franchise. The craziest thing with Aquaman 2 is how the first movie made over $1 billion, so you would think they'd make a sequel quickly, but DC couldn't even figure that out. With all the money Warner Bros. Had, they easily could have had Aquaman 2 in theaters 2 or 3 years after the first movie. But somehow they screwed it all up, and now we're stuck with an unfinished Aquaman 2 that clearly has scenes removed from it. This is a much shorter movie than the first film, and disappointing from what I wanted out of an Aquaman sequel. So I'm giving Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom a 5.5 out of 10. So question for you all, what are your thoughts on the DCEU from beginning to end? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you happy it's over? Let me know. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you all next time.